All right, so the New York Jets, in their first year drafting for Aaron Rodgers, doing the right thing. You have Aaron Rodgers, make sure you don't draft a wide receiver in round one. We appreciate you keeping the memes alive, Jets. This was a weird draft, a very weird draft. I think there's a lot of every team had a weird draft basically this year. This one, there's plenty of picks that I'm relatively fine with and maybe even a fan of. A couple that I think are head scratchers, and we'll talk about maybe why they felt like they wanted to make some of these moves. So first, let's talk about the first one, and I think, again, these are the ones that get the most attention. There's plenty of stuff to talk about that aren't just those first selections, and we'll get into all of the other stuff, because, again, while round one gets all the attention, oftentimes rounds 2 through 7 is really how you're able to build, Super Bowl champions. Well, first pick 15, they selected Will McDonald, and it's important to remember the context of this situation. They were in a spot where I really think they thought that they were going to get a tackle. Broderick Jones ended up, the Steelers traded up one spot above them to select him at 14. There's a definite part of me that wonders, did they panic a little bit, and did they say, they felt like, okay, great, we're in a spot, we're going to get Broderick Jones, which I don't know if they fully should have done, simply because the Patriots were on the clock, who could have still gone tackle. That was something that people thought they might do, which is also part of why, trading up from 15 to 13 by the Packers still mattered, and there was some significance there. Felt like that was maybe the case, is they thought they were going to get the tackle that they wanted, which in hindsight, they probably should have just traded up to get a tackle, because I think that they really wanted one. So they end up with Will McDonald, though, who, again, the way this chart works on the screen, it's the player, the position, then the first number is going to be where they were drafted. The number on the right is where the consensus big board had them. So you see, pretty significant reach. I mean, for pick 15, usually you don't want to reach more than a few spots. Usually you don't want to reach at all. They reached by 19 spots, which is, again, who knows how this stuff works. It's difficult to say. I don't hate McDonald as a player. I did not have a first-round grade on him, just like the consensus did not have a first-round grade on him. There's some okay analytics for him, nothing spectacular. Wasn't overly impressed by his tape, but I do think he could come in and be a pretty good run stopper day one. That's maybe the one thing that he could bring to the table. So again, not my favorite prospect, and this one not my favorite selection, but like I said, it's just one pick in the grand scheme of things. Joe Tippmann, a guy who some people really like. Joe Tippmann, I like him. I think he's solid. I think that this is an interesting selection, and I don't hate this pick with round 2. Now, again, it's a slight reach here. This one not as bad. It's 12 spots, but it's also, once we're getting in the second round, reaching 12 spots isn't as big of a deal as when you're at pick 15 and you're reaching 12 spots. Going after Joe Tippmann. Now, I'm a little confused about what's going to happen. Is he going to maybe try to play guard or something? Because you have Connor McGovern. I wouldn't want to move off of him at center. So definitely, tackle was the position that felt like they needed the most on the offensive line. I'm assuming this is simply hey, we just like him. He's the best player available, so we're going to get him. Which, if that's the logic behind it, I really don't hate it. I actually kind of like it. So no real issue there. Again, maybe you could have gone tackle, but at this point, if you're getting a tackle, you're reaching on a tackle. That's just how it's going to work, which is what they did with their next selection. Carter Warren ends up being going up pick 140 here. So again, we're jumping a ways. They didn't pick from 43 all the way to 140 or 120, excuse me. Carter Warren, the 190th ranked prospect on the big board. Not someone I've spent a ton of time evaluating, but, one thing that's nice about him is he did sort of, steadily improve each year. He never had great production, though, and that would be something that I would be concerned with, is guys who don't have great production in college rarely end up having great production in the NFL. But again, we're talking about a guy who's picked in the 120s. Of course, you're not going to have great production. If you have great production, you get picked with a top 100 pick, right? So yes, there's obviously some holes here. There's obviously going to be some flaws here, but there's also some, it's possible that they've seen stuff on tape that they like, and that's why they're more comfortable making this selection. One pick I love is at 143. This is when you draft running backs. This is when you do it. You draft running backs day 3. That's when you get them because you can usually get starting caliber running backs in this spot. And I think they could use a back. I really do. I mean, again, obviously, you don't need a starting back. Breece Hall, assuming he's healthy, is your guy, but maybe he's not healthy. Like, listen, I think Michael Carter's been fine. I don't think he's been great, but I think he's been fine with the Jets. Zonovan Knight came in and actually looked really well. But, like, wouldn't you just like to have another guy in the room? For pick 143, I'm a fan of it. And, again, they got a bit of a steal as he was, 103 on the consensus big board. They got him 40 picks later than that. You like to see that. And then we have someone who the consensus big board did not even have as a top 500 prospect in this draft class, Zaire Barnes. Zaire Barnes, not someone I know too much about. In fact, he doesn't even have a PFF page on the draft profile, which I was going to check out, make sure I at least do that before talking about him. But I can't because he doesn't have a page. So it's hard to say exactly what they liked about him. But again, I wonder if this is a special teams pick. A lot of times when we get to this far down the list, teams will draft guys simply for special teams. So I wouldn't be shocked if that's the case here. Maybe they're just looking at someone who can, come in and maybe not be a star right away, but could at least play some special teams and be a contributor when you are trying to win a championship right now with Aaron Rodgers. And I do wonder as well with, the other two guys, Jurek, Bernard Converse, and Zach Kuntz, two guys who they selected, over 200 picks into the draft with picks 204 and 220 respectively. Two guys who, Zach Kuntz actually, people were talking about him as what would that be? Sort of a late 4th rounder, early 5th rounder type of guy. Getting him at 220 is no small feat. Again, are we talking about these two guys as simply just special teamers who hopefully can do more than that? Potentially. Given the position groups of linebacker, tight end, and corner, those are kind of the positions you look at as guys who can mostly just be special, or at least those are, special teamers come from those positions, I should say. One thing worth noting about Kuntz, very good athlete. That's one thing that people like about him. So, yeah, interesting picks there. But without a doubt, as a whole for the Jets, I would say I'm a bit underwhelmed by this draft class. I would. If I had to give my overall review, I would say that while there are some picks I'm fascinated by, and again, no team has a disastrous draft class. Well, that's not true. But there's always some picks that you're going to get. You're going to get some good players in the NFL draft regardless, as long as you have 7 picks, or even if you don't, it's usually going to go okay in terms of getting some talent. Every team gets better in the draft, and I think they got better. I think that they got, guys like Will McDonald and Joe Tippmann. Again, you could argue, could they have gotten better players? But those are guys who should come in right away and be able to be solid. Carter Warren should be able to, at the very least, be, a depth option at tackle, which could be needed, given the way this draft unfortunately unfolded for them in round 1. And Israel, we'll call him Israel, the running back. I'm not going to try to pronounce that last name. Really like that pick. So, they kind of tried to make the most out of a tough situation and did an okay job, but still kind of just a bummer if you're a Jets fan, I would say. But again, you got Aaron Rodgers, so you probably feel okay about it. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.